Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Back to 12 podcast. I am RC Maxfield alongside Lyle Leong Jr. And on today's podcast, well, the madness, it's here to start, Lyle. And,
Mm.
Texas Tech basketball may not be a part of it. The women are on the women's side of things. They're in the WNIT. Shout out to Coach Gerlich and those ladies. But the men's side isn't. And on today's podcast, we are going to talk about everything March Madness. I'm going to give you some of my favorite betting tips because, Lyle, I am a degenerate gambler and I'm going to Vegas for the first weekend of March Madness. So I'm going to give you you guys the tips that I'm going to be using to bet. Does that mean they're going to work? Probably not. But hey, we're hoping just to bring back the same amount of money we left Vegas with and cross our fingers that happens kind of deal. But Lyle, before we get started, how you doing, my guy?
Hey, man, blessed to be in your presence, enjoying this fine day, the start of March Madness. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of people probably mad at me, but it's definitely my favorite of all. March Madness, getting to see some upsets, getting to see some people, it's win or go home. There's no cooler feeling, I think, and then you get an opportunity to see so many teams. Football, it's the same teams every year almost. You may get
Seriously.
one or
Yeah.
different new teams, but here you can have like last year. I forgot what that team was in the
St.
Sweet.
Peter's.
Yeah, St. Peter's. Never even heard of them. I didn't even know that was a school. So it
They didn't
makes
know it was a school.
it makes you want to just cheer. So I became I felt like a groupie, but I mean I had to cheer for those guys who, proving the world wrong, man. I loved it. So, man, I'm blessed to be on the get to do another pod, get to do my favorite time of the year. And don't get me wrong, people, I love football, but this is my favorite time of the year. So it's time to get it rocking. We'll see who comes through and who chokes it up, man. So,
Well, let's
you
just
know,
say this. They don't compare. March Madness is by far the best, at least in my opinion, sporting event there is. There's nothing like it. Like if you told me to choose between the Super Bowl and this, I'm taking this 100 times out of 100. I do not care. I can watch the commercials on YouTube afterwards. But for me, like there's nothing quite like the madness and the storylines and everything. And obviously, it'd be a little cooler if Texas Tech was involved in it. But I just think year in and year out, from a sheer entertainment standpoint, it's unmatched.
yeah,
Unmatched. Especially this first weekend. Like this first weekend is literally my Christmas. Like I love everything about it because you could literally sit on your butt from 11 a.m. until midnight and not have a basketball game on.
yeah, it's great.
And you don't know what's going to happen. Like, and that's the greatest part of it. So we're going
But
to
it
talk a
does
lot
suck
about it.
as you get to the Sweet 16 though, because then you're used to that
I
game
know, I
coming
know.
in. It's just
Yeah. Like the build up is awesome, but it's also like for me, I love the Final Four and I love the Elite Eight. Honestly, the Elite Eight is probably my favorite round of the tournament specifically. But as a whole, my favorite part of the tournament from a sheer entertainment standpoint is definitely the first weekend. Like, because I'm thoroughly entertained for 96 hours basically straight of basketball. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you can't beat that. You just
no,
can't.
you
Um, but, but
yeah, you
yeah, I
can't.
mean, I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited.
Me too, man. It's like I said, before we got on the pod, I was looking at this thing and I didn't realize it started today. So folks out there that don't got your
Yep.
brackets done, you better get it done and got about 2 hours left for the first game kicks off. So I feel bad for my kids. They won't get to watch any TV for a couple days. So, they get their iPads out and have a way with it.
Hey, you just got to adjust. You got to adjust. That's the way of life right there. By
You
the
know?
way, fun stat, Lyle. You talk about the first four in those games. There's been a round of 32 winner from the first four since every year since they've had it since 20, except for 2019. So let me repeat that real quick. A first four team. So one of those first four games that's played, whether that's the 11 matchup or the 16, obviously for this stat, it's the 11s that play in it or 12s. But each year, a winner from one of the first four teams in terms of those matchups in Dayton has made it
Mhm.
to the round of 32.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm just saying, You kind of look up the matchups. You got, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I'm not really looking at those matchups. I'm more looking at the 11 matchups, if we're being honest about it.
Yeah.
But Mississippi State, Pittsburgh, Arizona State, Nevada. If you had to ask me, I'm taking Pittsburgh to make to the round of 32. But let's start with the South region, Lyle, real quick. And again, we'll talk about a ton of stuff here in this, but I want to get some of our favorite picks. And then at the end of this, we're going to have who do we have in the Final Four, and then we can look back at this in a month and look like complete idiots like everybody does. But let's start in the South, okay? And you got Alabama as the 1 seed. No surprise there. They're the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. Even with all that Brandon Miller stuff going on, Alabama, just if we're looking at on-court performance, they are a very, very good basketball team. 1 through 4 in that region is Bama, Arizona. Then you got Baylor and Virginia. What's your favorite upset pick in the South region, Lyle? Just looking at it.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think for me, it's not, I don't want to say, I mean, it is an upset when it comes to upset, but I'd say my biggest one, I'd probably say West Virginia. And I know they're 9-8, but I like the way West Virginia matches up against Maryland. I've seen Maryland play a couple times this year, and they're really good. But I've seen them play 4 games, and 2 of those games they look really bad, and 2 of those games they look really good. So you could say the same for West Virginia too, though. West Virginia, sometimes they look really good, sometimes sometimes they don't. But for me, that'd probably be my biggest one, and then definitely Virginia. The Virginia game interests me too. So those would be my two to keep an eye out on, in my opinion. What you think in that South?
I think West Virginia routes Maryland. Like, I think they blow the brakes off of them. I'm talking like I think they win by double digits. Maryland hasn't played physical teams like the Big 12, and West Virginia is one of the most physical teams in the Big 12. So I think West Virginia just absolutely works. And also, by the way, you never trust a Big 10 team in March unless they have Tom Izzo. It's that simple. Yeah. So I think West Virginia wins that one. I'm not going to lie to you. I got 2 upset picks in this region that I feel pretty confident about. And the first one is the College of Charleston beating San Diego State. My favorite thing in March is looking at these mid-majors who absolutely have snipers on their team that shoot the lights out, and then they play teams that are slow-paced and can't shoot. And that's exactly what this game is. And Charleston can shoot the lights out. They play defense. San Diego State can't shoot, and they play defense, right? So it's like, okay, which one? It's that old saying, my old coach in high school, Lyle, because we had like 2 guys on our team that could shoot 3-pointers, me and this other kid. And it was like, RC, you're not less valuable to this team because you can only shoot the 3. But people will view you as that. And I was like, well, coach, I am less valuable. I suck at everything else. But in this scenario, 3 counts more than 2. And that's what he would always say to me. And I was like, okay, well, that's what I look for in terms of upset potential. And I like Charleston a lot. The other one, people ain't going to like this, but I think Baylor falls in the first round.
You do?
I do. I think Baylor is one of those teams where they are arguably the streakiest team in the country, because I could legitimately see, Lyle, Baylor making it to the Elite 8 and playing Alabama. But I think they could lose to UC Santa Barbara. The Gauchos, like, first and foremost, best team name there is in the tournament. It's not close. Yeah. But Baylor, for me, it comes down to this, is if Baylor's hitting shots, you're going to be able to tell within the first 5 minutes of this game if UC Santa Barbara has a chance. And if Baylor's making shots early, this is going to be a rout. But UC Santa Barbara plays good defense. They have a lot of length that can contend with those shooters on the outside. Obviously, Keontae George, Flagler, other guys from Baylor. And they've got a big down there that can hopefully limit the rebounding potential of Baylor and their bigs. So I really like UC Santa Barbara quite a lot. Obviously, the odds would be a pretty nice payout on that one. But the one I feel most confident in is Charleston. And then by seeding purposes is Utah State. I think Utah State destroys Missouri. I really do. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's one. That's one.
It's a 10 seed. So it is what it is on that front. But who do you have winning that region?
Alabama.
Yeah, same.
I have
Yeah, same
Alabama.
here.
Who do you have
But
playing?
that's where things get interesting for me. I have Creighton in the Elite Eight as the
Oh,
6th seed. I think Creighton um, is my dark horse pick to win the national championship.
you weren't right on your. I mean, you were right on your last dark horse. So people out there, pay attention. He said Kansas State.
Yeah,
He did say Kansas.
I did pick Kansas State before the season started in football to win the Big 12.
You
Just
did.
saying.
You did.
No, I think Creighton they're properly seeded because of their win-loss record, but the issue is they didn't have arguably their best player in Ryan Kolkbrenner, who's their center. He's a stud. They played 9 games without him and they lost 8 of them. Right? Like with him, they are a very good basketball team. And so now they're completely healthy. I think they boat race NC State. I think they beat UC Santa Barbara or Baylor, whoever it is. I think they beat Arizona, and I think they're playing Alabama in the Elite Eight. I really like Creighton. Yeah, I'm probably picking them regardless of who the matchup is in the bottom half until they probably play
I actually
Alabama.
have them losing to Baylor. I can't lie.
Yeah, I could see it too, but I think Creighton is vastly underrated and a dark horse to win the national title. Let's move on to the Midwest, though. Houston is the number 1 seed. They're trying to get to Houston to be one of the first teams in college basketball history to play a tournament in their hometown. The top 4 seeds in the Midwest are Houston, Texas, Xavier, Indiana. What's your favorite upset pick in the Midwest?
Not gonna lie. I have Houston picked to go, but I think they're gonna lose. I really do. I think Houston's gonna lose.
To Northern Kentucky or like in the second round?
I think they lose to. I have Auburn. I have them either. I would think, honestly, in my opinion, I think they're gonna lose to Auburn if they get past Auburn. I think Miami, Indiana, whoever plays them is gonna beat them. I
It's
just
too
do.
bad Indiana won't be or Miami won't be in that game.
Yeah, yeah,
They're going to lose to Drake,
yeah.
100%.
You think so?
That's my like most confident upset pick. My most one, like I am going as soon as I land in Vegas Thursday night, I'm headed to a sports book and I am dropping money on Drake to beat Miami.
Wow. I actually have Miami going to in my bracket. I have them losing to Houston, but honestly, I think whoever wins out of Indiana and Miami is going to beat Houston. Just seeing them play in the
Spicy.
conference championship, they're super
Well,
good,
they're
but
injured. Yeah,
they are
they're
injured.
losing Sasser right now.
But at the same time, too, like I say this all the time, and people get mad at me all the time, but they're not in the Big 12, so they wouldn't be 30, whatever they are in 3 if they're in the
30
Big
and 3
12.
or whatever, 31 and 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so people get mad at me all the time, but I have a guy on my staff, he's always talking about UTSA. I'm like, dude, y'all don't play anybody. Like, y'all's conference had all losing records, like mostly everybody on there. So I just like to see those teams, and maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I feel like Houston does this every year where they get a high rank and then they get knocked out.
They're a good team, man. Like I like them a lot. It kind of sucks that I don't think we're going to actually get to see the best version of Houston because they are injured. Like, I don't know how serious that Sasser injury is. And Sasser, in my opinion, is a top 10 player in the country. I mean, he's really, really good. It won't bother them against Northern Kentucky. But I think the most interesting aspect of all of this in the Midwest region is, Lyle, I don't know if you know where the first game is for Houston and then also Iowa and Auburn. Do you know what city that's in?
No, sir.
Birmingham, Alabama. Do you know where Auburn is located?
Yes.
Alabama. It's a home
That's
game for
crazy.
them. So,
That's
like, for me, like, I obviously I'm going to take Houston to beat Northern Kentucky. No doubt about that. But Auburn is one of the best teams in the country when it comes to playing at home. And I get it. It's not technically on campus in Auburn. It's pretty damn close. Like, it's as close as you can get. And so, like, Houston, Auburn to me, that almost screams to me what we had last year happen with North Carolina and Baylor. Remember at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Baylor was the number 1 overall. They were a number 1 seed. North Carolina came in there and beat them in the 1-8 matchup. I think that's what happens. I think Auburn actually beats Houston. And I could look absolutely foolish. I mean, lunatics foolish here. Now, I'm not confident enough to bet on that. But I think if it's going to happen, that's when it's going to happen. Because if Houston, the only way I don't see Houston getting to Houston for the Final Four is if they lose to Auburn. Like, they'll beat everybody else. What's your favorite upset pick in that region, though?
My favorite upset pick. I mean, I'm 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 gonna have to go with I'm definitely gonna have to go with Houston. Um, but I think
Who the upset is. The upset one in this one.
who's gonna upset
You,
who?
yeah, you got Houston coming out of this region, though?
I on my deal, but in my heart, I feel like Houston's gonna be
I got
I
you.
feel like Houston's gonna be I haven't picked and like I said, but I just feel in my heart. I feel like honestly, whoever wins out of Iowa, Auburn, I feel like they're going to upset Houston. And just watching Iowa and watching Auburn, I think Auburn, like you said, matches up better than Iowa, in my opinion, watching them. Just because I
Gotcha.
feel like Iowa's good, but I just feel like Houston's a little bit more athletic. But I feel like Auburn has a really athletic team. And I
They
only
got
watched them
experience, too.
two
Bruce Pearl.
times. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
he's been
my
there.
upset of the tournament. That and then my second will probably be Xavier. I got Iowa State beating Xavier.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah,
What about you?
I mean, Drake's my favorite upset of the whole tournament. Like, no joke. Favorite one. I think Miami is a bunch of frauds.
You
Um,
do?
I think they are. I think they're the biggest fraud 5 seed I've seen in a long time. Um, and mostly I'll say this too. Like, I think they are a solid team. But their starting center's hurt, and their starting center is by far their most valuable player. He can be quote unquote healthy for this game. I don't believe it. I think Drake goes in there. They're one of the best shooting teams in the country. They're an underrated defensive team, and they dictate pace. I don't care if you dictate pace in the Southeastern 7-11 conference. I don't care. Like, if you can control a game, that is huge in March, and they can do that. Solid rebounding team too. I like Drake a lot. But I'll say this. I mean, the most interesting matchup I think that takes place in this respective region will happen in the second round, and it's Texas against Texas A&M. Like, that's going to be a lot of fun.
That is. That is.
That's going to be, and you know what? I'm taking the Aggies to win that game if it happens. The Aggies are the best 7 seed I've seen in a long time. They are
They are
really
good.
good.
They are good.
They are really
I
good.
don't know though. I feel Texas has got momentum right now.
No, they're a good
They
team
got
too. Like, I mean, obviously, you're probably, if you're a Tech fan listening to this, you don't want to hear, oh, Texas is a good basketball team, But at the same time, it's like, you got to give credit when credit's due. Texas is a very good basketball team.
yeah.
Let's move on to the East region though, where Purdue is the number 1 overall seed, then Marquette and Shaka Smart. You got Kansas
Shaka.
State,
Hey,
and then
I do want to
Tennessee.
say that's who I like to see at Texas Tech. Just from
Never gonna happen.
Never.
Not going to happen, man. Why would he leave Marquette for this job? Like, no, and it's not a knock on Texas Tech. It's more like, hey, he's happy there. He's comfortable. And he's
Who
got a
got the
good thing
better
going.
facilities?
Sure. I mean, they play at the Forum, though. They got a pretty nice home arena. They play where the Bucks play.
Mm.
So that's pretty nice. What's your
Yeah.
favorite upset, though, in this one? Looking at this region.
I think my favorite upset is I'd probably say Gonzaga getting upset by TCU.
Oh, no, in the East region.
Oh, my bad. We're in the East. My bad. The East.
Yep.
My biggest upset I probably have um it's not really an upset, but I'll go Kansas State beating Kentucky would
Okay.
be my biggest one.
Just from a name
Second
value
one is
standpoint.
yeah, and second is it's not really an upset because 4 and 5, but Tennessee beating Duke as well.
I'm not going to lie to you, Lyle. I really want to say Tennessee gets bounced in the first round.
I mean, sorry, Duke beating Tennessee. Sorry, I have it reversed.
Oh,
Duke beat Tennessee.
yeah.
Sorry,
I
those are
could
my
see
two.
Duke lose in the first round, too. I could. I think Oral Roberts is good. Really good. Um, but I would pick Duke. I think the upset in the first round that I would probably feel most comfortable with in this one is probably Providence over Kentucky, that 6-11 matchup.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the Ed Cooley smoke to Georgetown, if there's actually fire. Their head coach has been rumored to be interested in the Georgetown
Oh,
job. So, like, I wonder if that plays a factor because, I mean, you're a former college athlete. You know, like, it can be happening off the field, but just because it's off the field doesn't mean it's not going to impact something going on the field with distraction
hey, but
purposes and stuff.
it's also too could be used another way. You know, kids, dudes know
Sure.
if my coach, if I knew Mike Leach is going to, the University of, I don't know, USC, and you better play your butt off if you want to go with him, especially in the, with the way the transfer portal goes and stuff like that. And I think these kids don't understand. I was talking to a college coach, basketball coach for, I got a 6'6" kid I was trying to send there, and he was sending me his list of transfers, and it's bananas. Like he's at a D2, small D2, and it's bananas the list that he sent me. And I kind of felt bad for sending my people out after seeing the list. Like it's some cats on there. You know, the kid I got is a cat too, but they're getting grown men 3 years in the game. So
Yep.
it's crazy. Every time you're out there playing, man, you're performing for and those guys got to understand too. If you don't perform, a new coach comes in, he ain't got to keep nobody. He doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's why I've been adamant. Like, I think every Texas Tech men's basketball player right now, put your name in the portal just so you have personal leverage. Like,
Yeah.
you have leverage because that new coaching staff doesn't owe you anything. And you don't owe them anything either in terms of the loyalty aspect of it. So just
Right.
cover your bases and everything like that. Who you got winning the East region though?
Mm. Who I have winning the East? I probably let me see. Let me get to my bracket to make sure I'm telling the truth. Coming out the East, I think that I have Purdue.
I've got Duke.
You got Duke beating Purdue?
I think Purdue loses in the second round to Memphis.
You do?
Yep. Listen, there's one thing I know, Lyle. Never trust a Big Ten school in March unless it's Tom Izzo. They're
I,
frauds.
I, I would agree,
They're all
but the
frauds.
only reason that I give him that is they're the big post player, man.
Oh,
He's
Zach
all right.
Edey? I don't care. They're all
He's all right.
frauds. They're all frauds.
Because usually
Until
I
they
feel
prove me otherwise. Until they prove, and maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year, but they're all frauds. Like, they are all frauds. They, like, the Big Ten is the biggest joke of a conference in terms of performing in the NCAA tournament when they're good. Like, the only two times that they've actually had good things happen is the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan is carrying that conference.
yeah.
Like, Michigan State, Tom Izzo, we know that. Michigan has been good a few times here in the past couple of years. They didn't even make the tournament this year either. But
I couldn't believe it. I thought they was gonna squeeze
I'll
in
be
there.
honest with you. If you want me to give you like probably the upset that people aren't expecting, I think Michigan State beats Marquette in the second round.
Oh, that's yeah. I can see that.
I'm not. I just don't bet against Tom Izzo. I just don't do it, especially in March. Especially in March. Let's go to the West though. Oh wait, you had Purdue coming out of there,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
Cool.
sir.
I had Duke. I'm gonna try and remember all of these because I had Duke, and then who did I have? I had Houston coming out of the Midwest. Did I ask you who you had coming out of the Midwest?
Yes, sir.
Who do you got
Yes,
coming out of
sir.
the Midwest?
I had Texas.
Oh, that's disgusting. But it's fair. And we both had Alabama. So
Yep.
we've got I've got Alabama, Houston, Duke, and you've got Alabama, Texas, and then you've got Purdue. We move
Yes,
on
sir.
to the West. Kansas is the number 1 overall seed. UCLA 2, Gonzaga 3, and then 4 is UConn. Who's your favorite upset pick in this round, Lyle?
TCU playing
TCU beating
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga in the second round.
Mm-hmm. No,
Mine
first
is
is it they played first? Oh, my bad. Hold on. Let me go back. Sorry.
no, they
I'm in
play
the second round.
Gonzaga and TCU play in the second round, but I'll
Oh,
be honest with
no,
you, man.
sorry. I
I don't
have
know if TCU gets
Iona.
there.
Sorry.
Oh, Iona over UConn.
Yeah.
Oh, the fighting Rick Pitino's. That's
Mm-hmm.
spicy. That's spicy right there.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest with you. I really want to take UNC Asheville.
No way.
I really do.
No
I
way.
love UNC Asheville. I told anybody that would listen to my lunatic ass before this bracket was released, wherever UNC Asheville goes, I'm gonna want to pick them really bad. Like,
Well,
I'll tell you this right now. If they weren't a 15 seed and they weren't playing UCLA in
okay.
California, I'd pick
Okay.
them.
Okay. I was about to say, if
But
you
I'm
don't
not
care
going to.
about money, pick them.
I will say this though, you can bet your ass I'm taking the plus 18 and a half for UNC
Yeah.
Asheville.
Yeah.
100% taking that. 100%. I'll say this, my favorite upset in this one in the first round is VCU over St. Mary's. I don't know if that game gets to 100 points total. I really don't. They just don't like to score and they like to play defense. Good for them. My biggest upset in this region is this, and obviously a couple things have to go right to get there. But if Arkansas beats Illinois, I think Arkansas beats Kansas.
Mm. Mm.
Yep.
Now you talk about spicing it up.
That's what I think right there.
Brother.
Yep. I think Arkansas beats Kansas. I think Arkansas is healthy now. They were a top 10 team for various points of the season, and then they kind of got injured. Their star freshman, Nick Smith Jr., missed some time. They are a really good basketball team, and now they're as healthy as they've been all year, outside of losing one of their post players, but they haven't had him for a while now. They get their star freshman back. That's probably going to be a top 7 pick in the NBA draft. They have arguably the best freshman impacted team there. And I just think that they're going to go in against Kansas and not know how big the moment is, if that makes sense. And they're just going to play free. And they're just going to go out there and try and really, I mean, it would be shocking the world at that point. But who you got coming out of that region, Lyle?
Kansas, my man.
I have Gonzaga coming out of it. I think this is I'll give a little teaser. I'll just go ahead and say it. I think Gonzaga wins the national championship this year.
Oh, Lord.
I don't think people are talking about them enough right now. You know what that means? Gonzaga's getting upset by Grand Canyon. I'm telling you that right now.
No way.
That's what happens.
Ain't no way.
That's what's going to happen. I guarantee it. They ain't going to make the second weekend now that I picked them to win it.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, I think it's Gonzaga, Alabama in the title game, and I think Gonzaga wins it this year. Nobody's talking about them. They like going under the radar, and they'll do it this year.
Hey, that's tough.
Who you got winning it?
This hurts me to say, but I have Alabama winning, and I have them playing Texas.
Okay. Well, at least you got the Longhorns losing, I guess. Kind of deal.
Yeah,
I do want to give some stats out for this because, as I said earlier, I am going to Vegas for this first weekend, and I have been doing a stupid amount of research, Lyle. And one of them, I feel like a hypocrite for my pick in terms of winning the national championship. But I've got some stats for you guys. I've already given out one. A first 4 team has made the round of 32 in every year but 2019. Okay,
what?
so that's one. So you got Arizona State, Nevada. That's one. And then you look at the other one, it's Mississippi State, Pittsburgh. If I'm being honest, I think Pittsburgh is the most likely one. And that would mean they beat Iowa State in the Midwest region. But teams with slow tempos are prone to first-round upsets. Remember that. If they are slow, it is a no-go. And that is one reason why, looking at some of these upsets and everything across the board, why I don't like Miami. I'm picking Drake. They run at tempo a little bit. I like them quite a bit. Another one is Duke. They're kind of in the middle. They lean towards the slower pace. Would not shock me if Oral Roberts beats them. But then, most importantly, probably the upset I'm second most confident in is San Diego State. A turtle is faster than them. And that's why I'm picking Charleston to win that game. The next one is Big Ten teams are 13-1. 13-1. 13 wins out of 14 games since 2000 as a 7 seed. You look at the 7 seeds in this. You've got Texas A&M. You've got Missouri. Obviously, they don't meet the criteria. But then you look at the West and the East region, and you've got Northwestern and Michigan State. Lyle, who do I always trust when it comes to March Madness in the Big Ten? Tom Izzo. Give me Tom Izzo. He is going to beat USC. They
That's
are going
true.
to beat Marquette, and they are going to make the Sweet 16. I'm calling it
Wow.
now.
Wow.
Hammer it. Hammer it. I don't believe in these fraud Pac-12 teams either. Marquette, you never trust Marquette. You trust Tom Izzo. So I've got that happening. Got two more. Always remember this when picking your champion, even though I didn't do it. So maybe everything I've said for the past 35 minutes doesn't mean anything, Lyle. Who knows? Ever since 2002, the winner of the national championship, according to KenPom, has had an adjusted offense of top 45 or better and an adjusted defense of top 22. Okay. So remember that the teams that meet that criteria right now, as it stands today, Houston, UCLA, Alabama, Connecticut, Purdue, Kansas, St. Mary's, and Creighton. My favorite team, Lyle, in terms of just chaos is Creighton. I think they could just create a ton of chaos. And then last but not least, this one's fun and very arbitrary. I don't even know if that's a word. Probably not.
Good.
But I'm gonna act like it is. 100% of champions, Lyle. 100% of champions since 2004 have been ranked in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll. Got about 4 minutes left. I'm going to go through this and read each team in the Week 6 AP poll. So pick one of these 12 teams to win the tournament. You've got a good chance. Purdue, Virginia, Connecticut, Bama, Houston, Tennessee, Texas, Arizona, Arkansas, Baylor, and Duke. So one of those 12 teams, yep, they're 8. Yeah, one of those 12 teams will probably win the national championship if it repeats itself. You know who's not in there, Lyle?
Who?
My pick, Gonzaga, because I'm stupid. But we all knew that at this point. We all knew that. Lyle, should be fun, man. By the way, my favorite betting parlay in this one, when I land in Vegas, I am parlaying just to see what happens here. Baylor, Iowa, and Missouri, all to lose.
Woo. Hey, you're going to be a rich man if that comes true.
I hope so. Trying to pay for a wedding, my guy. But where can they find you on social media, my man?
You can find me at Coach LLEONG. You can find my main man at
RCMB 323. By the way, this is not, this is just gambling advice. Okay. Don't follow it. It's just advice. Disclaimer. Got to put that out there. Save our butts. You know what I mean? But again,
you've been pretty good. I've been
all right this year. I think in the past 2 months, 3 months, I've been hitting on 59.3% of my bets.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll take that every day of the week. He's Lyle. I'm RC. Appreciate you tuning in to the Back to 12 podcast. We'll be here all March long talking about the tournament, obviously updating you when it comes to Texas Tech men's basketball and their coaching search and everything in between. So you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button to stay in the know all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.